Hi, my name is Kevin Fisher. I'm from Advanced Cardio Services, and today I'm going to be instructing you how to train a patient on Coumadin or warfarin, how to test their INR at home on a weekly basis using the QuagiCheck Access system made by Roche. And I'm going to be teaching you the proper techniques, procedures with the meter, the test strips, the Lancets, how to clean the meter, along with going over the training paperwork that you'll be receiving as well. So here we go. So you're going to receive from us in the mail a UPS package, and inside that package you're going to have your patient training paperwork guide and everything you need in there to train the patient. If this is your first training, you'll also get your trainer badge. Of course, you'll have the patient's meter, and some trainers may have a training meter that we send them, so you definitely want to use that for the training and then set the patient up with their meter after all the testing has been done. Make sure that they're able to do it on their own. You'll also have the patient's test strips along with some Lancets and a magnet. Now, again, if you're a first-time trainer, you'll also be receiving our trainer guide, and that is going to cover step-by-step how to train a patient. I highly recommend using this if this is your first training, really step-by-step what you need to do in order to make that patient successful with their testing. It also has kind of the key for the patient trainer test, troubleshooting tips if errors were to occur, and of course the patient always wants to call Advanced Cardio Services if they get any errors before trying another test. We have the enlarged quick start guide, a sample on how to call in the patient test results. If you want to familiarize yourself before going to the training, you can use this one. It's just a dummy account, and you can hear exactly what it sounds like when you're calling in a result. Also, we have the online portal through our advancedcardioservices.com website where patients can report their test result there. Kind of just a sample report. The skills checklist that the patient's going to need to know all of those different skill sets before they can go home, leave with the meter, and start testing. Okay, and then of course, if you know anyone on Coumadin that is interested in home INR testing, we do have a referral form so that you can let us know they're interested in home testing. We can get them set up, and hopefully we can have you train that patient as well. So after you receive the meter and the test strips, Lancets, and the trainer packet, you're going to want to contact the patient within 24 hours to set up an appointment to go out to their home and teach them how to use the meter and report the results. They'll have all their contact information, their address, and if there are any hang-ups in the scheduling, please do contact us at Advanced Cardio Services to let us know when exactly that training will take place if it's not going to be within a week's time. So after scheduling the training with the patient, you're going to want to arrive on time and dress professionally, definitely wearing your ACS trainer badge so they can identify you as someone safe to have come into their home and train them how to use their meter. Familiarize yourself with the patient. You can talk with them for a little bit, make them comfortable with you, and then we'll want to get started right on in with the training. We're going to want to find a good spot to do the training, try and really take control of the situation if they're trying to lead you someplace where training would not be good, a lot of distractions, commotions. It's not a good spot. We want to find a nice table for the patient to sit square up to, if possible. That's going to be your best surface. And then prior to even starting the training, we want the patient to go wash their hands with warm soapy water, and that's going to later on help stimulate the blood flow to their fingertips. Also, we will send with the first shipment some alcohol swabs, so you may want the patient to prep the finger that they're going to be testing with before you get underway. That way it gives it some time to air dry, because you never want to puncture the finger when it is wet, because that's going to make the blood run. You're going to want to make sure it's fully dry before pricking the finger. So if you go ahead and open the meter case, you'll find the CoagCheck XS system inside. There'll also be a laminated, just small, quick start guide, which is very helpful for patients. I always have them follow along with this while testing, and tell them to use it when testing in the future. That way they don't miss any steps, and they know if an error occurs to call Advanced Cardio Services before attempting another test. That way they don't become frustrated with the testing because they keep getting error after error, eventually waste all their test strips. So it's very, very important. They understand they need to call Advanced Cardio Services if they receive any errors. Of course, if it's after hours, we are open 8 a.m. till 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Monday through Friday. So if they're testing on the weekend, before or after those hours, they want to call the 24/7 Roche technical support number, which is actually on the back of the meter, and they can be helped there with walking through a test. So first thing, when we're showing the patient the meter, we want to get them familiar with it so they know all about it. Of course, they have their test, the main screen here where the results will come up. The on-off button, just like on a computer, and they're always going to want to push on the raised kind of braille-like areas to make the buttons work. So on-off, it takes just a couple of seconds. It actually runs a quality control check of the electronics when you turn it on. And then you'll have a blinking test strip telling you to insert the strip. Sometimes patients think that's a blinking battery, but they need to replace it. It is not, so it's important to let them know so they're not trying to switch out the batteries, because when you do switch out the batteries, you have to reset the meter, so don't do that. And then you have the on-off button to go ahead and turn off the meter. Right next to that, we have the M button, which is the memory button. So if you push on that, when the meter's turned off, it'll turn the meter on, and that'll bring up your most recent test result with the date and time, and that is going to circle through all the past results and hold 300 test results. So that's a lot of testing, and they won't have to write down each of their tests because they'll always be here. It won't store errors, it'll only store test results, and all patient test results, this is very important, are going to have 2 digits separated by a decimal point. So it's going to be 1.0, 2.2. It will never just be 5 or 6. Those are some errors patients may receive, and it will say error, which is kind of written small, so we don't want patients reporting an error number as their test result. So of course you can turn the meter off again by pressing the off button. Then on the side here, we have the set button, and we send all of our meters preset with the date and time along with the patient's INR range. We just want to make the patient aware of that so that they stay away from it. If they're pushing that and then trying to push some other stuff, they may possibly change the date, pushing the year out, and then when they go to insert a test strip, it's going to say the strips are expired, and then we have to walk them through it. So just to prevent confusion on the patient side and frustration, tell them to stay away from the set button, and we can always help them walk through it if they do, but stay away from it. And then we have right here is where the patient's going to insert the test strip, and we'll show you that when we get the test strips out. On the back, I already showed you the number to call for Roche technical support. And then above, it's not on this meter, but it'll come on every patient meter, where to call their test results into with their ID number and their PIN number, so that they always have that with them so they can report their test results. The only other piece of information they'll need is their date of birth, but they're going to know that. And we do send also in the training paperwork a larger piece of paper on how to report the test results, but this is just quick and easy so they never lose it. It's part of the meter. And then the meter simply takes 4 AAA batteries. That goes back on like so, and those won't need to be replaced about once every 3 years. So They shouldn't be switching those out. If they do, the date and time may change, and we'll end up walking them through how to reset the date and time. So now that we've shown the patient their meter and all the buttons on it, we're going to show them the test strips. So the test strips come in just a box like this, and we'll send out more strips to the patient generally every 28 days. And if they run out ahead of time, well, they should be calling us with those errors, but they need to let us know, or else they'd be getting a shipment every 28 days so they can perform 4 self-tests once a week, and then we actually send them 6. So they have 2 extra in case they get an error, and patients generally, once they get it, they're only using 1 strip per test, and they'll end up with some extra strips, so that way if they need a test extra, they're completely able to, and we're not charging them any extra. So have this box, you can hear there's a code chip free floating inside. So it's very important when showing the patient this, they know that when they get their new box of strips, they're going to dump out, and out will come the vial of test strips along with a plastic code chip. Now, we really want to make sure they take this out and don't just take the vial out and toss this, because then they won't be able to test with this vial of strips. They absolutely need that code chip inside. And this code chip is just going to fit right next to the set button. There's a little slot, and it's just going to clip right into place and snap. And you can enter it in to the meter for the patient, and then have the patient insert it as well, so they get the feel of it snapping into place. Now when they get a new box of test strips, it'll come just like this one did. They're going to want to remove the old code chip, and they can discard it once, of course, they're done with that bottle of strips, and then they're going to want to take out the new code chip from the new box of strips and insert that one. So that way they match up. And you see the code number is on the side of the strips here. So then if we go ahead and open the bottle of test strips, you'll find the top cap is a desiccant, so it's going to suck the moisture and air out of the bottle of strips. It's very, very important to emphasize to the patient the importance of putting the cap tightly back on, so that it's not, put back on halfway, that it is all the way pushed down, so that way the strips stay good. Because once you remove a test strip, put the cap back on, and that test strip is out, the chemicals in the strip that start the clotting process, they are sensitive to high humidity and high temperatures, so you don't want them to sit out for a long period of time. They're actually good for 10 minutes after removing from the bottle of strips to ensure complete integrity of the strip so that the results are accurate. If you take out a strip, you decide maybe I'm not going to test right now, I don't have everything together, the phone rings, or you're cooking, you want to go ahead and put that test strip back, it's still good. Just 10 minutes is what they say, so that you can make sure it's as good as possible. You're not going to incur any errors with it. And you can find the expiration date on the test strips as well. They expire in about a year. So if they're testing once a week, they're never going to expire if they're testing weekly. So then, of course, we want to show the test strip to the patient so that they are familiar with the strip prior to testing with it. You can show them the arrows. That is the direction they're going to want to insert the test strip. Also, the clear section is where they're going to be applying the blood. You can also show them on the back side, the clear section. You can see the channel that's going to run all the way up. Now, after doing a test, if that's not completely filled out with blood, they would have received an error 5, and that would have meant they didn't apply enough blood to the strip to get a test, because the blood needs to get all the way up to the top. The patient's going to be applying about 8 microliters. We always say a ladybug-sized drop of blood is enough to get you a test result. So that's important to know, because sometimes we'll see error 5, think they're doing it right, think they got enough blood, but that's a clear-cut way they can look and visually see that, wow, I didn't get enough blood, I need to make sure I get enough before even trying to apply it to the test strip. So that's the test strips, and next we're going to quickly show the patient the lancets they're testing with. And we provide patients these single-use safety lancets. Generally we send these 21 gauge lancets when we first set up patients. If we find they are really hard bleeders, we do have these green ones as well, which are 18 gauge, and that will give you a little bit larger drop of blood if they're having trouble bleeding. So if you could let us know that after the training, we can get those sent out to the patient. So these are very easy to use. You can see there's just a cap that pulls straight off, and the lancet is going to eject from the open section of the lancet. There's a little section on the back for a finger to get placed, and for best results using this, we always have the patient put their hand flat on the table and they're pressure activated. So you want them to prick their finger, not right in the middle, not on the side, but just a little off center from the swirl of your fingerprint. So if you're pricking right on the side, the blood is just going to run down the side of your finger. Putting it just off center is going to allow you to massage up a ladybug-sized drop of blood, be able to balance that drop of blood so that it remains a bead, and that way you can apply all the test strip all at once. You run into a lot of problems if you're pricking on the side and the blood's running down the finger. You're never going to get a good test result or one at all. So now that we showed the patient the meter, the test strips, the lancets, we're going to go ahead and, following the quick start guide, we are going to prep the meter for a test. We're going to take out the strip, and just like in step 1 on the quick start guide, if you're following along, you can simply insert the test strip all the way to turn on the meter. And that's going to be a very simple way for the patient to get the strip in, the meter on. You don't even have to press the on button to get that started. And you can see when the test strip is in, the code will be flashing. And that code is only there because we inserted the code chip earlier from the new box of test strips. So that's how it knows what code this strip is from. Now, on the test strip bottle, it has the code 481. And this is flashing 481 as well. That way you can hit the memory button, but it's also the match button, and that's going to already be step 2 on your quick start guide, and hit M for match. And you can now see it's going to start a 30-second warm-up period, where it has an hourglass. Well, this is the meter actually warming up. I always tell the patients, make sure and go ahead and warm up your finger that you're going to be pricking. So you can go ahead and shake that out, have them shake it down by their side, kind of pumping their hand, getting the good blood flow to their fingertips. Some patients are hard of bleeding, or if it's cold out, they may want to put their hands around a warm cup of coffee or tea, hot water, whatever it may help stimulate the blood flow. Now you could hear the meter beep and a 180-second countdown started. Now this is the only time the patient can apply the blood to the test strip. It's 3 minutes, and it's plenty of time to apply the blood, so they don't have to rush through it. It's really important to make sure they know not to rush through it, because then they end up getting an error. So they have the countdown going. Before having them prick their finger or anything, this is actually time they would prick their finger, but want them to do a dry run first, showing them the technique. So of course, during that countdown period is when they're going to want to prick their finger with their lancet and then go to apply the blood to the strip. Now I have it sitting on this box here just to represent sitting on a table so that you can see it. And it makes a world of difference if you have the meter hanging off the edge, so the test strip is hanging off the edge, and rather than it being back in the middle of the table, it poses a lot more difficulty applying the blood to the test strip using the proper technique. When it's up over the edge, you have that great range of motion, and it makes it a lot easier to apply the blood. Of course, you want the patient sitting directly in front of the meter. And this is just the dry run, so it's great to have them practice their technique before they do it with the real thing with blood on their finger applying to the strip. That way we don't waste a strip unnecessarily and have to prick them more than once. So of course they're going to prick their finger just like we talked about, just a little bit off center. They're going to practice massaging up a ladybug-sized drop of blood. Bring the finger right up next to the test strip, and they actually can touch their finger right against the side of the clear section, so the drop of blood would be right about up here. And then they just slightly tilt their finger to about a 30-45 degree angle and do like a light scraping motion, and that's going to ensure that that whole bead of blood lands on top of the clear section. It doesn't have that great wicking like a glucometer might, where it's just going to suck the blood right off the fingertip. Once it lands on top of that clear section, it will draw the blood up. So it needs to go in the right spot. You do not want to put the blood straight against the side, because the blood's going to go underneath the strip and on top, so only half of it's going to get where it needs to go, and chances are that might not be enough blood. Also, you don't want the patient to ever turn the finger fully over. They may have been shown to do this in the doctor's office when testing, or even if you're a home health care nurse, that may be the way you've tested patients in the past, is to take their finger and get like a hanging drop of blood and put it on top. Well, when you're testing yourself, it makes it very difficult to see where the blood is going exactly, and oftentimes it ends up getting smeared on the top here and doesn't get into the strip where it needs to go. So it's very important that you touch against the side, slightly tilt, and do a light scraping motion, and it's absolutely fine to touch the test strip until the meter beeps. When that meter beeps, that's the indication it has enough blood and it's starting to run an INR test. So if you're still pushing on this strip at that point, you may get an error 6 for interfering with the test by moving the strip, and the way you avoid that is simply you're applying blood, the meter's going to beep, you just pull away, leave the meter alone, and let it give you your test result. Okay, so now that we did the dry run with the patient, we're going to have them do the real thing. We can, of course, guide them through the test, but we really want them to do it on their own because they're going to be the only one testing in the future. Go ahead and have them insert the test strip to turn on the meter, and making sure again that the code matches up to what's showing on the screen. Hitting the M button, the match button to confirm, and start the warm-up period. Then have them set the meter on the edge of the table, like so, and position themselves directly in front of the test strip and the meter, and of course shaking out their hand down by their side to help stimulate that blood flow right before they prick their finger for the test. We're waiting 30 seconds for the countdown to start. You hear the beep, and that's the countdown starting. Now they can go ahead and take their single-use safety lance set, put it on the table, pricking their finger, not right in the center, just a little off to the side, and pressing down to activate that safety lance set. They're then going to massage up a nice ladybug bead of blood and bringing it right up next to the side of the strip, touching their finger against it, just sliding it down till the blood touches down on top of that clear section, holding it till you hear the meter beep like you just did. It means it has enough blood and you want to pull away. The meter gives a quality control or QC check with every test. If it does not, it will give you an error instead. Mine gave me a test result. So it means everything worked fine. I pulled the blood away, finger and blood away as soon as I heard the meter beep, letting me know it's running the test, and I got a test result. After the test, they're more than welcome to pull out the test strip. You can see on the back where the blood ran up the channel and went all the way to the top. If it did not do that, they wouldn't have gotten enough blood and wouldn't have gotten a test result. So simple as that. Make sure the patient's able to get the test result on their own. If they don't get enough blood on their finger, don't have them apply it to the test strip. They may want to wipe their finger down, try and get some more blood flowing, and try and test again. But as long as you don't apply blood to the test strip is still good, and you can try it again at a later point in time. So now that the patient got their INR test result, we're going to want them to call in the test results or report it online, however they will be doing it in the future. They can easily take their meter and hit the M button now to pull up the most recent test result they just got, and that's going to be the result they're going to call in. Again, it's going to be a 2-digit number always, separated by a decimal point. Make sure patients don't try and report an error. Number 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 are some of the general errors patients may receive. Of course, error 5 is not enough blood. If their technique is not correct, they're not getting the blood where it needs to go to get them a test result. And error 6 is generally from a patient continuing to push on the strip during the test. Well, it already has enough blood, and that's going to be interfering with the meter reading the blood clot forming, and they're going to get an error 6. So that's why I have to pull away when you hear the meter beep. The countdown numbers will also disappear after the meter has enough blood. An error 3 is one that you'll only see if the date is not set correctly. It means the test strips are expired. Again, they're always going to be set a year out, so you won't ever have that issue with the test strips. And then error 4 is an error that the test strip is damaged or used. So if someone's applying the blood during the warm-up period, not the countdown, when the countdown starts, it's going to see that there's blood already on the strip. It's as if you took one out of the trash and put it in. It's not going to give you a result because they applied during the wrong time. That's generally when you see that error. Another reason you may see an error 4 is if this happens. You leave that off and go out for dinner, pick up some groceries, you come back, you live in an area where it's hot and humid, those strips may no longer be good. You can of course see the blue section is the chemicals. If they start to turn purple, that's also indication just ahead of time that you're probably going to end up with an error 4. And you can always call us, Advanced Cardio Services, or Roche, the manufacturer, for error support. Again, it's absolutely crucial that the patients call Advanced Cardio Services before attempting another test. When they're on their own, they don't want to keep testing their strips. They're very expensive strips. We don't want the patients getting frustrated, so we are here to help them. Please make sure they call us with their errors. If you have any further questions, you can definitely contact our office at 866-416-8989. That will get you directly to our office. You may want to ask for our training coordinator, and they will help you walk through anything you are confused about with the testing, any processes. And lastly, if the meter becomes contaminated at all, it needs to be cleaned, we just recommend that the patient uses 70% isopropyl alcohol. Generally, you should use like an alcohol swab and clean it off if there's like blood on it. Otherwise, the meter really doesn't need to be cleaned. Definitely want to stay away from sprays or anything like that because it is an electronic device and don't want to short circuit it. So just clean it off if there is noticeable blood. Other than that, it should be fine in its case. And as far as storage, these test strips and the meter, never store them in a hot car. Be careful with them during the drive to the patient's home. Try and leave the AC on in your car and not leaving them in the car again for very long because you could ruin the integrity of these strips. They do have a temperature range of 36 to 86 degrees Fahrenheit, so keep that in mind in those hot summer days. So thank you again for going through this training program. Hopefully you pass your test and you'll become a certified trainer and train lots of patients and educate them about why it's so important to test on a weekly basis. It's that preventative measure to catch if they're ever out of range and get them back in range so they stay out of the hospital. It is amazing how many patients go out of range and never know it until they end up in the hospital. So thank you. If you have any questions, go ahead and contact our office at 866-416-8989. If you know anyone who's on Coumadin and could benefit from our service, please have them contact us or go ahead and send us a referral form with their information. We will talk to them all about the service, make sure that they are a good candidate, they're willing and able to test on a weekly basis and want to move forward. We verify their insurance, get a prescription, and of course send them to our wonderful trainers for a great face-to-face experience on how to use their meter and test on a weekly basis. So again, my name is Kevin Fisher. Thank you for your time today and good luck with your trainings.